Yes. Good. I will share the screen. I think now you must see it full screen, right? So, youth exchanges, mobility of youth workers. I know that all of you have experience with both of these action types, but just maybe a reminder on how we could make it in a proper and good quality way. So youth exchange is about young people. So young people have the key role in organizing and implementing the youth exchange project. So youth exchange is an activity where young people meet, where they share their experiences, their realities, they talk about specific topic, and then they exchange what they see or how do they understand this topic. And all this through informal, non-formal learning. The objectives of youth exchange are to support intercultural learning, to support competence development, to enforce the European values and fight against stereotypes. And of course, youth participation is one of the key points that we see that young people have opportunity to develop through a youth exchange. And youth participation, like on the grassroots levels, not only in the policy making, but being willing to change something, willing to do something, willing to organize something. What is important when we talk about the youth exchange? As I mentioned, young people should do it on their own. It doesn't mean that you just tell them, hey, do the youth exchange and ciao. But the idea should come from them. The motivation also should come from young people themselves. And youth leaders or youth workers are as a support person, meaning not doing instead of young people, but with young people together and being like holding their back. What else is, of course, intercultural learning. That's also one of the basics of youth exchange. For many, not for like too many, like around half of youth exchange participants actually have been to a youth exchange before, according to the latest RAY research. But still, for half of the participants, this mobility might be the first international and intercultural experience. So it's important to prepare young people before the mobility and talk through what does it mean that we have people who don't speak our language, who share the same values, but different culture. And also some values might be a bit different. So how do we behave in this completely different context? And one of the key roles in the project definitely has a group leader, because this is the support person, first of all, as a reference point when we talk about the group dynamics in national groups. In the same time, group leader is the one who is motivating young people to go further in case there are some obstacles or some challenges. Group leader helps young people to, let's say, to overcome challenges when we talk about, for example, creating a project or implementation of the project. But also one of the key roles of group leader is helping young people to understand their learning, how and what did they learn on a daily basis, as well as in the project in general. And definitely group leader is the one who is also in charge of safety of participants, of course, until some extent, yeah. But when we talk about projects where minors are involved, then the role of the group leader is even more crucial. Young people should implement the activity themselves. It's understandable that when young people meet in the triggered activity, in the beginning, they need some extra support to get to know each other. And in general, there should be some people to give this activity a time frame, saying we're going to do this and now we're going to do that. And the extra support in the beginning of the activity. But young people should also prepare some sessions, not only about their cultures in the intercultural evening. They also should benefit on the content of the project. And it could be definitely the showcase of their country, but also it could be some other sessions on the topic, like theoretical sessions or something else, some, I don't know, role games, whatever is suitable. What I mean is that young people should also contribute to the content of the main activity. And as I said, not only in the intercultural evening. And the topic of youth exchange should be relevant to those young people who will be participating. They should be interested in this. And also, in case you involve young people who were not in the beginning of the creation of the project, then they should still be curious. They would like to learn about the topic. And in this case, I understand, by the way, that it's not always possible, and it's not that it's not possible. It's not the average practice that we or young people do the project themselves. It's rather several cases. And what happens is that there is a creation of the project, and then we involve young people in a later stage. But in this case, still, it's very important to find relevant participants and to provide enough support, meaning still preparation on intercultural learning, about non-formal learning, about the program itself, about the project itself. What are the aims of the project? What is going to happen? And as well, the input on the content. So here again is a crucial role of the group leader, when this person should somehow unite the national group before the international activity and help them to create the relevant content for the project, for the main activity. And when it comes to the very basics, then the duration of the main activity is from 5 to 21 days. The duration of the project is 3 to 24 months. However, in your case, it's not that important. What I wanted to stress is that the minimum of 5 activity days should be fulfilled, because what sometimes happens within the accreditation, that we as an A, we don't have the overview of what they're actually going to do. And sometimes people forget the minimum eligibility criteria, and then on the final report stage, there is a challenge and the problem and a lot of tears. So we would like to just to remind you that the main eligibility criteria still have to follow. That's why the slide is about eligibility criteria. Then there is opportunity for the preparatory visit. You can plan it and you can implement it for youth exchanges that you are planning to do under the accreditation. The eligible age of participants is from 13 to 30 at the moment of the activity. And the age of the group leader is not limited. And what is also important, that you have to have at least 16 participants in the event, in the project. It means that 16 participants plus group leaders. In case you are planning to involve the minimum, let's say you have 4 countries, and from each country have 4 participants plus leader, just be careful that all 4 participants will actually participate. Because if someone will drop off and you will not have this minimum criteria fulfilled, then unfortunately the whole activity will be not eligible. And also at least 4 participants from each group must be in the 4 participants from the partner organization plus group leaders. So if you have, for example, only 2 partners like you and 1 partner from abroad, then you should involve at least 8 participants from each country. And when it comes to the maximum number of participants, 60, we definitely do not recommend to do such big youth exchanges, because from our experience, it's really not possible to involve young people good enough. There were some very massive youth exchanges that I have seen myself, several. And in the end, there are half participants just checking their phones. There are some participants who are active and some just watching around. In case in the activity you have only participants with fewer opportunities, then you can have then you can have 10 participants altogether. So it's less than with say average participants. But in this case, you should know what are the fewer opportunities, and it should be justified. Like, why would you like to have such a small event? Then about budget, there is organizational budget and travel budget, individual budget, inclusion budget, and then there is a grant for the preparatory visit and I forgot how is adequate in English. Not special needs. Anyway, sorry, it's in Estonian and I have black. Anyway, adequate. Exceptional costs, yes. So what is important is that organizational support, travel budget, individual budget are those budget units that have a lump sum that you don't have to justify extra. For these 3 units, the justification is the participants list, the signed participants list. You have to have all travel documents, so you will be able to justify the travel in case your project will be on a desk check. But in general, you don't have to submit any boarding passes or anything else. So to justify this organizational travel and individual support, You just need to sign a list of participants. The forum for a list of participants, it is available on our webpage under the reports, Aronlus, and then there is a K1 projects. It's there. Yeah. Then for inclusion support, there is a lump sum that you have to justify by filling also a form for inclusion support. It's also available on our website, exactly in the same place. So in case your participants are traveling in a green way, you will also need to justify the green travel by filling the form, which is also in the same webpage, whereas Aronlos and Key Action 1 projects. The preparatory visit is also justified by the participant list. And exceptional costs are the one, for example, that you use for visa. Then you have to submit all the receipts. I will ask you, do you have any questions about the budget and the minimum eligibility criteria?
No.
Okay, thank you. A couple of words about the preparatory visit. It has to take place in the receiving country. So there is no other way how you can organize it. So if you want to meet physically. And there's a lump sum for a preparatory visit. The number of days is not limited. But what is important is that you can have the support for the preparatory visit for maximum of 2 representative of organizations, partner organizations. So only in this case, where one of these 2 participants is a young person who will take part in the main activity later on. So for example, if you're a representative of the organization and you're going to a preparatory visit somewhere, because if it's in Estonia, you don't get the support, unfortunately. So you will go somewhere and you take some young person with you. And then this person somehow will not attend the activity. Then the whole lump sum for the preparatory visit is not eligible. So this is to kind of also, this is to support youth participation, because ideally the preparatory visit is for group leaders and young people who will be involved in the implementation of the project. And as I said, for the receiving organization, for the host organization, it's not possible to plan any money. Yes, and the profile is for the representative organizations, group leaders, participants, and facilitators. That's the last slide for the youth exchange. Do you have questions about the youth exchange? Because otherwise, we're moving to the mobility of youth workers.
No questions, all is clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we move on and I'll talk about mobility of youth workers. And mobility of youth workers is an opportunity for people who work with young people to develop themselves professionally through seminars, trainings, job shadowing, study visits. So different formats are available. What is important when we talk about mobility of youth workers is that activity and the content of the activity should be clearly connected to the professional development of youth workers, not only personal development, but professional development, meaning that in the program there should be planned and it should be understandable how to youth workers put the new knowledge or skill in the context of their daily work. And the objectives of this action type is to support professional development through non-formal and informal learning, also create a network of professionals that will also support development of international youth work for young people, and that will be a good quality one, good quality activities. And as a result, also to increase the quality of national youth work. What is important when we talk about youth worker mobility is when you plan the project, what you have to start with is needs analysis. And it should be based on the partnerships where you are involved. So you have to understand why you are doing this project and why your partners are also there. And it's very important to assess the needs of potential participants based on what your organization see as a need for the youth workers involved in the organizations or beyond. As I have mentioned, but it's really important, is that the content of the activity, the agenda should be planned in a way that it would support the bridge between the main activity and the everyday work. What I mean by this is, for example, there is a training for youth workers on human rights. It's an important topic. It's also important for youth workers. But if the content of this training, for example, is different subtopics of human rights and how to fight for human rights, how to make a campaign and draw attention on this topic, then this content is not youth work specific enough, because what is important is that youth worker would develop not only personally. It means that me as a youth worker, I know now what is human rights, what are the topics, how to what can I do to make a change. But it's important for me as a youth worker that I would know how to speak to young people about this topic, how I can support them in making change in the aspect that they would like to address. So when you look at your agenda, just try to think if a person who is not a youth worker will attend this training and will benefit exactly in the same way as everyone else, then this project or this agenda is not youth work specific enough. And here, just try to put it in the context. So people who are not connected to youth work should not fully understand what to do with the sessions that you have on the paper. So try to be really try to focus on daily work of youth workers. And something about the formats. It has been historically and very unfortunately that it has been spoken about mobility of youth workers as trainings. So when you I bet you have heard it in Erasmus Plus, we have youth exchanges and trainings. It's not training, and training is not the only one format that mobility of youth work can offer. And I would like to encourage you to try out other formats, which are job shadowing, seminars, partner building activities, study visits. These are not trainings, but these are not worse as a format, because in many cases, training cannot solve the problem or challenge, cannot actually address the need when you do the needs analysis. You can still do trainings. It's not that it's forbidden. It's rather a call to try out different approach to make mobility of youth workers. And when it comes to the results, just to remind you that results are not necessary to be a guide, a toolbox, a website, some kind of learning, teaching material. No. We as an A, we don't expect to have every time a new handbook emerging from each of the project. Also in youth exchanges, we don't need anything tangible that we would like to see. So when you plan, when you think about the results of the activity, think what will you achieve, how to document it, and who would be interested in this. And you don't really have to plan it like in a huge way, because if you have very specific need that you're addressing in your project, then it's enough when you plan how participants to plan together, actually with participants, how they will pass the knowledge or the skill to their fellow colleagues. So the tangible materials are not something that you must do or you have to do. Just bear it in mind. But at the same time, you have to really understand what is the result of the project. So what would you like to share? So eligibility criteria, also mobility of youth workers. Here, the most important is that the activity has to be at least 2 consecutive days. So it means that travel days are not included. 2 activity days, travel day, then 2 activity days, and then another travel day if you need it. Because sometimes it happens that it's shorter and then the whole activity is not eligible. And 60 days, of course, it's mostly when we talk about mobility, about the job shadowing. There's also opportunity for preparatory visit. If it's justified, if you really need it, then you can do it. And there is no limit for age, but in terms of participants, at least 2 participants must be involved. That means that 1 participant from your organization, from applicant, and then 1 participant from the receiving organization or from the partner organization. What happens is that, for example, organization plans a study visit, and then they talk to someone in this another organization and this person just is greeting them in the airport, saying, okay, here is your hotel and tomorrow we'll meet here and then you will go somewhere. But they don't see the the hosting person as a participant, which means that the whole activity is not eligible because this person is not added in the final report. However, the need to acknowledge the host is larger than just a tick in the final report. When we talk about the projects under Erasmus Plus, even if it's a study visit, even if it's job shadowing, so meaning that one organization has more experience than another one, and then the less experience is learning something, and then the more experience just oh, we actually don't need this project. This is not how it should be organized, even if it's a study visit or a job shadow. So when you plan the project under the accreditation, you have to understand what is in it for your partner. why they are interested in participating in this project, because it's also their resource, it's their time, and you could support your partner to understand what they will gain from this project, what is their objective. So just to remind you that when you organize mobility of youth work, it doesn't matter which format you use. The idea of co-creation the project together with your partner, regardless how the activity will look like, is the very, very basis. And even when we talk about study visit, the more experienced organizations still have something to learn and can have their own agenda when we talk about aims of the project. So even though we don't ask, or you don't have to write the single applications every time and write all the objectives again and again, you still have to have them, and you still have to plan your project accordingly. And involvement of the partners is more or less, it's the same as if you would be doing the single application project. And about the preparatory visit, the main idea is the same as youth exchange, but here is this difference that there are two eligible participants from organization, and you don't have to involve young people. So you can have two participants plus a facilitator. And as in rest of Key Action 1, there is no preparatory visit support for the hosting organization. Do you have questions? I was very quick.
I have a question. I know that there is in the report there is a certificate thing to include to the report of mobility of youth workers. Can you comment on that, or what does it mean and how to do this? And
You mean Youth Pass?
yeah, but it's in the report there is just a certificate. It's called a certificate. And if I have a study visit, then I would like to know what is the certificate.
The certificate section in the report, as far as I remember, is first of all connected with the recognition of learning and reflection process in the project. So even if it's a study visit, you still need to think how you will help participants to reflect on their experience, how to assess the learning themselves, of course. And Youth Pass is something that we suggest to use, but not necessary. And you don't have to use any, there are no other obligatory certificates. Actually, even a Youth Pass is not obligatory tool. It's a voluntary tool. However, applicants, they are obliged to inform participants that they have opportunity to receive Youth Pass, but it's still voluntary. And all other certificates, it's up to you. There are some like bigger networks of organizations where they have their own certificates that they use, and then they just write it. And if you didn't use any certificate, then this is what you have to write. But also, if you don't use Youth Pass as well, then still you have to kind of describe how the reflection process was organized, or just at least write that you have introduced Youth Pass, but no one wanted it. And in August, we will have another webinar on the final report and how to write it. Did I respond enough?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's okay. I just saw this. I'm gonna put this one on, then you know who you're talking to. Yeah, because like, okay, our case is a bit maybe different because we are accredited, and then we applied for 2 study visits, and I started filling in the first study visits things, and then there was a section that a certificate is needed, and then I was thinking, is there something what I have to use, or I can do it myself, and who has to sign it, and like this, but.
Okay, actually, this webinar is for accredited organizations only. So I have checked actually yesterday the template for the final report of the accreditation, and I don't remember that it was something that you couldn't skip if you didn't use the certificate. But if that's what as far as I remember, it was in the section of recognition of learning, and this is then what I have explained before. Do we have more questions? Okay, then yeah, Kadri, did you want to ask something?
No, I just wanted to let you know that we are still here, but I don't have any questions at the moment. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so all in all, Anneli, do you have questions?
Ja mul on ainult selline küsimus, et kas me võime 2 minutit pärast seda ühist Zoomi korraks rääkida omavahel?
Sobib, yeah. So in general, when you are managing your project, then you can think about it as it's an average previous key action one that you have applied as a single application, meaning that the same documents are needed to be collected, prepared, signed, the same eligibility criteria as before. If you are doubting something, then on our website there are separately youth worker mobility and youth exchanges with all the budget thing and about the basic eligibility criteria. Or if you use a program guide, then it's there. And in general, the logic is the same as if you were doing like a single application in terms of, but it's just you have more freedom that we don't know when are you doing and what exactly. So sometimes we will write you to come for a visit because we are planning some monitoring visits and just to see the projects and maybe to answer your questions. So it's more or less like our benefit is that we do a bit of field work because it's very interesting and fun. This gives us a lot of insights on how are things actually happening. And other thing is that we are there, so you can ask us anything you feel like. Okay, then I think that's it. And if you have any questions, then you know who's your contact person. And you can write me and Heikki with all your questions. And then I wish you to have a good summer. Enjoy this short Estonian summer.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.